In today's automotive landscape, where new cars continue to get more expensive, it's always really refreshing when an auto manufacturer introduces an affordable new car. I'm here on the show floor of the 2024 New York International Auto Show, and this right here is the fully redesigned 2025 Kicks. Let's take a first look. Now, before we start talking about the all-new styling for this second generation Kicks, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now, the previous generation Kicks was essentially supposed to be a replacement for the old Nissan Versa Note, and it was pretty underpowered for this segment. Thankfully, Nissan has addressed that with an all-new powertrain. This is essentially the same motor that we see under the hood of the new Sentra. It's the company's larger 2-liter gasoline direct injection, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. It makes 141 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. That's almost 20 more horsepower versus the previous generation. It all goes out through an Xtronic CVT transmission. And the big story with this new generation Kicks is it's now available with all-wheel drive for the first time. So you can get it with front-wheel drive or with the company's all-wheel drive system, which I think is going to be a pretty high take rate, especially considering the fact that this is their most affordable SUV. Because this is still a very early showing of the vehicle, we don't know quite yet the fuel economy information yet or 0 to 60 information. However, Nissan did announce the curb weight of this vehicle. This model here, as it sits, weighs in at around 3,100 pounds. So the new Kicks is larger. It's going to be heavier, obviously. It's roughly around 300 to 400 pounds heavier versus the previous generation. But let's go ahead and close up the hood because I know you guys are really interested to see the updated exterior styling. Now, first of all, I wasn't always the biggest fan of the original Kicks. I mean, that car, like I said earlier, was designed to replace the Versa Note, and it kind of reminded me of an economy SUV from times. So as you can see, with this new look, Nissan is going a lot bolder, they're going a lot more sportier, and they're also looking a lot more masculine. I really like the lines of this vehicle. Of course, this model that I'm showing you is the SR trim, so it's the top of the line, sportiest looking version. You can see the Nissan grille has been enlarged, and as you can see, it's also kind of taking a new direction. It no longer has kind of like that V-motion shape that we're used to seeing. It has that new Nissan logo here with the integrated front camera system. It also has their Nissan Safety Shield 360. And then unlike the previous generation, all versions of the Kicks come standard with their LED headlights. So you have this new design where you have these upgraded projector style LEDs with the cube shape on this SR trim. There's also a really interesting stacked look to the LED daytime running light. No LED fog lights, but you can see this top trim also has some integrated parking sensors. And I have to say, with the red SR badge, the kind of black trim and this gray two-tone red roof color, this thing commands a lot of attention. It really doesn't look like an entry-level SUV, so I think Nissan did a fantastic job with the overall design. Looking around the side profile, you can see this car appears bigger, and it is. This vehicle's overall length has been stretched by 2.5 inches. It's just under 172 inches long. Its wheelbase is also around 2 inches longer as well, at 104.9 inches long. This vehicle is also taller and wider, and Nissan also gave it a lot more ground clearance, around 8.3 inches of ground clearance, especially if you guys go for the all-wheel drive version. So you can see the wheels, you can see the SR trim has this really attractive looking 19-inch wheel. You can see it almost has like an asymmetrical 3-spoke design, but it actually has a different kind of look to it with the painted black inner spokes. Of course, the machine look to it. You have all disc brakes, and then you have an independent front suspension. If you guys go for all-wheel drive, you'll also add a multi-link independent rear. The front drive models will still have the semi-independent twist beam suspension. Now you can see the SR model that I'm showing you here also has what Nissan is calling a premium package that rolls in that panoramic sunroof. This is one of the few vehicles in this segment that has a pano roof, which I think is a great touch. It also has these nicely integrated roof rails. I love, again, the two-tone black with this gray exterior. And then looking over here, you can see there's a nicely hidden Kicks logo here in this D-pillar that kind of creates that signature floating roof design. And then looking at the rear, you can see very bold design that has these taillights, these LED taillights that kind of mimic what you saw at the front with that kind of dual line stacked look. You can see it's actually an LED taillight. There's a nice integrated rear wiper here, along with this nice integrated rear spoiler. And then down here you can see you have some SR badging here, and there's a big bold all-wheel drive badge here to show that this vehicle is now available with all-wheel drive. And then no visible exhaust tips. There's just one kind of just tucked away underneath the bumper. The one thing about the Kicks is I wish that Nissan would have introduced like a hybrid version, but again, that 2-liter I'm looking forward to driving because again, it has almost 20 more horsepower. Now, opening up the cargo area, this is where the Kicks, I wish that Nissan would have offered a power liftgate, but typically you don't find that in this segment. And obviously because the vehicle is larger, you're gonna get a little bit more cargo space. Nissan says you have right around 30 cubic feet of space with the second row seats up. Now that's for the front wheel drive version. If you guys go for all wheel drive like this model here, the multi-link suspension does intrude a little bit in the cargo space. It reduces it to around 24 cubic feet, which is still pretty good. Fold down that second row seat, it expands it to 60 cubic feet on the front drive models, around 51 cubic feet with the all wheel drive model. So again, it's not necessarily top of the class, but it's roughly almost double what the previous generation did, so that extra length is being utilized. If you guys are also planning to tow with this vehicle, Nissan didn't have any kind of towing figures. I'm not entirely sure it'll be recommended because remember, this is designed to compete in the subcompact SUV space. So on the outside of the new kicks, it was dramatically restyled, but this is where Nissan again spent a lot of money and time here to make the interior of the second generation kicks feel even better. As you can see, this SR trim that I'm showing you is basically the top trim, and it has these unique seats. You can see these seats are kind of a combination of their Primatex, which is a fake leather with this kind of cloth insert with the two-tone orange stitching and orange contrast accents. It's a very nice looking seats. The seats themselves are a four-way or six-way manual here on the driver's side, and you do get heated seats. That's included when you guys go for the premium package. But really, when you start looking at the rest of this interior, it really feels like I'm sitting in a much more expensive car. And that's kind of where the key to these affordable vehicles is you want to be able to design a vehicle that is affordable, but also doesn't feel or look cheap. So looking at the materials here, you can see on the door panel, there's actually a nice soft touch injection molded area. This is actually, it feels like the Primatex material with real stitching, real contrasting stitching, which is nice. You can also see there's some ambient interior lighting accents in here. You have some aluminum look trim, silver painted door handles, nice and padded over here, where this kind of padded area here almost looks like it has a carbon fiber weave texture to the leather, which is nice. The steering wheel, this is the latest Nissan design steering wheel. It's got a flat bottom design. It has a tilt and telescoping arrangement. It has the upgraded Nissan touch controls here with their buttons and switchgear. And then you can see this model here has the optional, and it looks massive for this segment, 12.3-inch display. So you have a 12.3-inch display here in the instrument panel, and then another 12.3-inch display in the center. This is their latest Nissan Connect head unit. If you guys go for lower trims, it'll have a smaller 7-inch display, where it'll have a 7-inch display here and a 7-inch display here. I believe, however, if you go for the SV, it's standard again on the SR. This is again pretty much in the biggest screen you're going to find in the segment. You have this kind of really nice area where it has that same carbon fiber texture, but this is actually padded. This is the same padded material over the armrest covers. Same thing here for this upper portion of the dash, where this is a soft touch injection molded plastic, and this is kind of a faux stitching area. But again, it looks so expensive considering the fact that this is their most affordable SUV, so that's very impressive. Down here you can see you have some touch controls for the single zone automatic climate control. You have your heated seats over here. You have a wireless phone charging pad with 2 USB-C charging ports. You have your electronic parking brake here, and then there's also a drive mode selector here. You can basically choose between Sport, Eco, and a standard normal mode. You have an actual shifter for the continuously variable transmission. And I also like how there's a pretty deep cup holder area here that can also improve the storage, more stitching along here. And then over here on the console, it's nice and padded. If you open that up, that's a little bit on the shallow side, but there's a nice power outlet in there. Wasn't expecting too much considering the fact that this is, again, a very small car. Now, above me here, you can see this premium package SR includes this big panoramic sunroof. This is one of the few vehicles in the segment that offers it. I think maybe the Kia Seltos is the other vehicle that offers it, although technically the Seltos could be considered a class above. It is a little bit larger than this. And then my tester also has the upgraded 10-speaker Bose stereo system. The cool thing about this car is there's actually, the old kicks had speakers in the driver's headrest. The new one also added it to the passenger headrest. So again, that's a really high premium touch. Looking forward to eventually driving this, testing out the audio system. If you guys are an audiophile, the Kicks is definitely gonna have an impressive Bose upgraded audio system. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat because I wanna show you guys with that increase in the wheelbase and the overall length, there is more space back here. Now, first of all, if you want to fold these seats down, obviously they do that, and it creates an almost flat floor. There's a little bit of an incline here. The seats themselves, sadly, they don't recline or they don't move forward and back. But once I get back here, you can see I did notice I have to duck my head a little bit. This panoramic sunroof is taking up some space, but once I get back here, you can see materials quality is a little bit downgraded from the front. So you have hard touch plastic here. It's still nice and padded here with that textured carbon fiber look for the material of the leather, and you can see more aluminum accents, silver accents here. And then Nissan says there's around 34.5 inches of legroom back here. 34.5 is not bad. That's about an inch more versus the previous generation. You can see there's not a flat floor here because it needed that space for the center drive shaft for the all-wheel drive system. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, no rear seat air vents or heated rear seats, but you do have 2 storage pockets here. And then if you fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders. But overall, as you guys can see, if you guys are coming from the old Kicks and looking at the new one, this definitely has a more grown-up feel, and there's more space back here for your kids or average size adults. So when Nissan first introduced the first generation Kicks back in 2018, like I said, it was a replacement for the unloved Versa Note, and it was a pretty big success for Nissan. The company managed to sell as many as 81,000 units here in the US back in 2021. Last year they did around 67,000 units. So again, it's a pretty strong seller, and after finally seeing the second generation Kicks here in person, I have to say Nissan knocked it out of the park here. They upgraded a lot of things here. They made it bigger. They made it more technologically advanced. They made it more stylish, and they also gave it more power, but also adding all-wheel drive. I think that was the big thing that kept people from buying a Kicks. And because, remember, the Rogue Sport was discontinued about 2 years ago, this essentially kind of takes that vehicle's place. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Nissan potentially double their sales, because this is going to be a very fierce competitor in the subcompact SUV space. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on this vehicle, Nissan wasn't ready to talk about pricing just yet, but it is going to be showing up at dealerships, they said, sometime this summer. When this summer, they weren't ready to talk about that yet, but the old Kicks started around $21,000 to around $27,000. Obviously, with all the new technology and space that this vehicle has, I expect it to be more. I'd probably say expect a starting price in just under $25,000, which obviously is more, but that's my estimate. But considering all the additional technology, I'd say this fully loaded version here will probably top out at a little over 30, but again, we will know as we get closer to that on sale date. For Redline Reviews here at the 2024 New York International Auto Show, I'm Sofyan Bey.